Hello and welcome. Welcome to the exciting Tuesday. This is Heart and Mind, and I'm Dr. Dina McMillan. And today we are talking about the left spinning out of control. Now, you might want to know just from the top, why do I call it the left and not the Democrats? It's because the same playbook is being used in all of the Western countries by whatever party is associated with the left, with socialism, with open borders, with a lot of the same policies we see in the United States. It's not just the United States. And as you know, I have people who watch this show in all of the countries where I work, which includes Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the UK. I have insomniac friends in the UK who watch this show live, even though it is 1 o'clock in the morning there. Welcome, welcome. This is going to be exciting. Stay with us and as we go through. And please, this is crucial information you will not find anywhere else. So in addition to my suggestion that you watch the recorded version, even if you watch it live, please also spread the word. Everybody needs to be on the same page. A lot of times we're going to be talking about having this information, sharing this information with others. Make it easy on yourself. Send them to an episode that you found particularly useful. Now, we're on every Tuesday live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I should also tell you, wherever you're watching this show, if you actually sign in, then you can send me comments and you can ask questions during the program that I will be more than happy to answer. Now, if you are watching this or want to watch the recorded version, go to Daily Clout, Rumble, YouTube, or go to my X page at Dr. Dina 1, because I post the episodes on my X page. So welcome and let's get started. Now, I keep telling you, and it's not a brag, it's just fact. I do things differently because I'm a social psychologist. The vast majority of people do not know what social psychology is. It's a relatively new science, came about basically from studies and experiments in the 1950s and 1960s. We look at how the brain works, and especially how people learn, how we're influenced, persuaded, manipulated, coerced, indoctrinated, and brainwashed. So while you have a lot of people throwing that term out, oh, so-and-so is a cult, or Trump supporters are a cult, most of those people don't even know what a cult is, just like they don't know the definition of a fascist, which they're also calling us. Cults are what we study, but not just cults. Most social psychologists go into fields in marketing, where they get you to buy something you don't need. Or they go into politics to get you to vote for someone you don't trust. I decided to work on the side of the angels. I'm bringing this crucial information to you. I'm making it explicit and accessible so that you can see the strings of manipulation that are everywhere in our society, and you can cut them. And you can cut them from being used on yourself or your loved ones. Now, speaking of cutting strings of manipulation, please, please, please get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. The Pfizer papers are based on all of these studies and analysis done by Pfizer with regard to the COVID-19 vaccines. Now, Pfizer went to court. Pfizer went to court to try to keep this information hidden for 75 years, and the court said no. But then we had to have somebody go through all of that material and decipher it for us. And that's what Dr. Naomi Wolf and Amy Kelly and her team did. It's not expensive. That you need to know what was done, because no one's gone to jail for what happened in COVID. All of those deaths, all of those injuries, No one has yet gone to jail at the time I'm broadcasting this show. You need to know to protect yourself and your family. So head right over to Amazon, easily buy your own copy. It is a must read. Now, today is exciting. Today, it's always exciting here on Heart and Mind, I think, but today is especially exciting because we're going to talk about how the left is spinning out of control. Now, they've been out of control basically for decades. Those of us who have been watching this they've been out of control for decades, but it's gotten much worse over the last 10 to 15 years. And we're going to talk about it because the murder of Charlie Kirk did not stop them. And in fact, in many ways, it's made them worse. And I have Football Podcast Imaginary League saying hello to everyone. Hello there, and welcome to this week's episode. Get ready, get your own gripes about what the left is doing, and please sign in wherever you are so that you can actually share the information with us. Stay with us. What if I told you one of the most studied supplements in the world, creatine, isn't just for bodybuilders or men at the gym? That's one of the biggest myths out there. The truth is, creatine is incredibly beneficial for women, and you don't even have to exercise to feel the benefits. Here's why. Creatine helps your body produce quick energy. Yes, it supports lean muscle strength and recovery if you do work out. But research also shows it boosts brain health, improves memory, reduces mental fatigue, and even supports bone strength. That means better energy for your day, sharper thinking, and stronger aging, whether or not you ever step into a gym. And no, creatine will not make you bulky. That's another myth. What it will do is help you feel stronger, more energized, and more resilient in everyday life. So if you've written off creatine as a guy thing, it's time to rethink it. Your body and your brain will thank you. If you'd like to learn more about how creatine works and why it's such a game changer for women, check out this short article at getnativeCreatine.com/Daily Cloud. That site again is GetNativeCreatine.com/Daily Cloud. Now, for many of you, I don't know about you, most of us are still in mourning and stunned and shocked by the loss of Charlie Kirk on the 10th of September of this year. That's only a few weeks ago. Horrible. I want to show you something, the reaction of people to the loss of such a phenomenal thought leader in the conservative movement.
So I throw up my hands and praise you again. I know it's not my...
I'm sorry if I cut that short, but I'm getting too weepy. On the top, you saw the right. And many of us are members of the right. You may not be. In fact, if you're part of the left, welcome, welcome. Look at the difference between what was done in reaction to the loss, the cruel loss of someone so important. The right prayed. And they became energized, and they said, we're going to continue Charlie's work. We're going to continue to bring facts and evidence to the left who are trying to ruin our society with lies, with deception, with coercion and manipulation. We prayed. It is an amazing thing. And I'm going to bring on my friend Melinda, who is taking time from her busy workday on Wednesday in Australia. Melinda Richards is a thought leader, successful author, just went to CPAC Australia. Welcome, Melinda. What do you think about all of this?
Hi, Dina. Oh my God, that video that I
I
did
know.
watch quite a lot of the Charlie Kirk memorial, and it was a very touching. It was a very touching event. But I love the way that you can visually see right in our faces the difference between sort of people who tend to be more right wing versus this sort of leftism and woke leftism that we now have, and there's such a big division. In fact, a friend of mine just said to me last night, Mel, it's not even about right or left anymore. It's about right and wrong, good and evil. This is now becoming almost a spiritual war. This is the sort of thing that she was talking about, and I was amazed because she's just gone on a very recent journey herself, and I think she's dead right. I think this is really getting back down to the basics of humanity. What type of human being do you want to be? And the left's reaction, and as you say, completely spinning out of control, is showing a level of depravity and murderous intent that I don't even think we really understood properly until the last few weeks.
Well, I know that there were first dozens, then hundreds of videos of people actually laughing and celebrating the fact that Charlie Kirk was murdered. And I want to show you another little video. This has information in case you think this attitude is recent. It isn't. I've been talking about it as long as I've had this show, and that's a little over a year.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character.
Ooh, that's just a snippet. We have more.
I know,
to
that's
go
not
in the
even.
episode.
That's like a tiny little portion.
But I
Oh,
wanted to show that at the start because a lot of people, like your friend perhaps, only really recognized they were in denial about how violent the left is. Even with, the left really showed who they were with the Black Lives Matter protests and the
Yes.
$2 billion of damage and the 24 people who were murdered
yeah.
in the Black Lives Matter protests. And it was just so soft-souled by the mainstream media. But if you have discernment at all, you saw what are these people like? And what it worked, though. It did two things. It intimidated the opposition into being quiet because they didn't want to be next to be assaulted or killed. And it quieted the people who thought it was wrong on their own side, on the left, because they didn't want that to happen to them. Now look at this. This is in Georgetown. Now for Melinda and my UK people, Georgetown is a very elite suburb of Washington, D.C. It has a very prominent university there. And they're selling a QR code to get materials that say, "Hey, fascist, catch," which is one of the things written on the bullets that were used to murder Charlie Kirk. This is what we're dealing with, folks. We also see this. We saw Johnny Depp up there saying, when was the last time an actor assassinated a president? And by the way, that was only 50 seconds out of a 2 minute and 20-second video. They're talking about 86, which is the police code for murder, and 47, which is the number of president that Donald Trump currently is.
I think this idea that we're able to now measure the real ideological and spiritual differences between the very, very different groups of people in society now. We still go back to calling it right and left, even though I think it's well beyond that description. But
I know, but it makes it easier, and it keeps it from being for us, emotionally evocative.
Absolutely. And I think that, we can measure that now. I mean, J.D. Vance has come out and put some metrics around this kind of spiritual war that we're in. That, 3% of the right believe that, violence is the answer, and that, if you've got to unfortunately commit an act of violence or murder to get your way, then that can happen. Well, it's something like 34 or 35% on the left, and that tells you every single thing you need to know. And I think
we're going to cover some of that. Let's look, because we're going to cover some of that. And keep in mind, it's not just political. Social issues here, encouraging anger and calls for violence. And can you just succinctly just present some of because one of the things here you can see up on the top, it bring back witch burning, and the person they want to actually have murdered is J.K. Rowling.
Yes.
Now, I know that she actually came out and was open this week about Emma Watson, who played Hermione in the Harry Potter films.
Yeah.
And the whole little crew, who would never have been famous without her, decided to side with the left and the trans activists against J.K. Rowling, who said humans cannot change sex, scientific fact. And she saw the danger of telling people that you could, which there's so much evidence that the left just doesn't want anybody to talk about, which is one of the reasons they're celebrating Charlie's death, because Charlie brought solid evidence to dispute the leftist lies.
Yes, absolutely. They're very, very, very relieved about that. But I think the stuff that came out around J.K. Rowling is really interesting, because she doesn't just talk to Emma and say, "Hey, listen, it's it's a little bit too late." But she does say that, Emma did inflate. She absolutely did inflate the sort of pushback against J.K. Rowling. And so J.K. Rowling has had to increase her personal security. She has had death threats, rape threats. She's also had torture threats against her for simply saying that there are two genders and that men can't be women, and that men should stay out of women's spaces. That's what she said. Essentially, that's her position. It's certainly my position. It's 95% of women's positions out there, is that you cannot change your gender. Scientists have come out, doctors have come out. Now, for that, torture, death threats, she's had to tighten her security, not just for herself, but considerably tightened for her family as well. And Emma has just publicly poured more petrol onto the flames during that period. So I think what J.K. Rowling's really saying here is, for the first time, she's come out and said, well, Emma, I was quite, she has known Emma Watson since she was about 10 years old on set trying to learn lines. And for J.K. Rowling to be betrayed like that, I think J.K. Rowling was really patient and didn't bat it back. But now that Emma Watson finds herself on the wrong side of history, Emma Watson now realizes that people like you and me, we're all speaking out a lot more. I've got a lot more of my friends that are waking up and speaking out. All of a sudden, the death of Charlie Kirk has shifted the goalposts, because now common decency and pushing back against murderous intent is something that we're all trying to do and we're all trying to push back on together. And Emma Watson, I think, realizes this and is now putting out some sort of olive branch to J.K. Rowling. But you see, the problem is that the damage has been done at such a deep level. She knew what was happening to J.K. Rowling when she was taking those positions. She knew how horrendous all of the threats were and the threat to her life, because, of course, we've got violent murderous intent, which is exactly what you're talking about today. So, you know, she's not going to accept it. And I think none of us should accept it.
No, and it's really easy to come out in support of someone once you realize that your view isn't popular anymore. I mean,
Yes.
I've just recently seen something that said that 19%, the Democrats now have a 19% approval rating. But we have to keep in mind as well that President Trump, I just saw this is all things that I've come across this week. They are still likening Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. And I know, because you notice it's small, but you can always screenshot it. It says posted September 26th, okay? Saying he's Hitler. And realize this isn't new. Since he became, even when he came down and declared himself a candidate for presidency, they were lying, deceiving, picking on him, trying to humiliate him. And then the lawfare started, where they're changing some of these Democrat-run states, changing the laws so they can try to convict him of something so that they can use the term felon against him. They did everything they could. They twisted themselves into pretzels to be able to call him a felon among all these other things. And people like my aggressive sibling that I said that went on Facebook to try to turn my old high school friends against me. Now, it worked with a couple of the leftists, but you know what? If you follow leftist ideology, for the most part, you're not very discerning and you're easily manipulated. So I have limited patience, unless you're like my friend Carolyn, who's still willing to be friends with me. I want to tell you something. Her loss would be huge. My sisters, I still love them. So I'm kind of ignoring them. It's like, okay, you'll get over it and y'all be back. I'm not in any way rejecting them. Okay. But understand something, that hatred is building that foundation. People saw, oh, it's just name calling. No, we're going to talk today, and I'm going to go through a few slides, Melinda, because I want to show the audience how they build a foundation that makes violence seem like a rational response. After all of that, as I said, just 50 seconds out of a 2-minute and 20-second video of celebrities, thought leaders, politicians, all calling Donald Trump a fascist, a Nazi. His followers are doing horrible things. He's faced at least 2 assassination attempts, because there may be more we don't know about. I even have a picture. I didn't post it because it's so disturbing and because I had other things to show you. But you can go online or even contact me on X, and I'll show you where they had someone do an AI of the top of the head, and the fact that he went to look at something right when that bullet went past. He missed assassination by inches or millimeters for you, Melinda. Okay. Because you guys are on the metric system.
But I mean, what you're saying is very, very important, because it is certain type of people that are getting assassinated in America.
Thought leaders who can draw people. But you know what we have to do? Just like Trump said, let's make it too big to rig, which is what we did for the 2024 election. The same people who are trying to clog the court system with illegals so most of them cannot be sent back did not hesitate to completely deny due process to the protesters on January 6th who were protesting a fraudulent election result, which there is compelling evidence to prove was absolutely right. But they were welcomed in. It was a nefarious plot. They were welcomed into the Capitol building by the guards. They couldn't have gotten in otherwise. A lot of them were just walking around looking, and then they went after them to make it. And I keep hearing the left talking, insurrection, insurrection. When you're dealing with people who don't look deeply, who rely only on slogans and labels, you will do whatever you can to be able to apply that slogan, that label to someone. Where was all that due process talk when they were putting people who into solitary confinement with no trial just for walking through the Capitol building after being invited in, not only by the guards, but also by the 245
the
FBI agents that they had encouraging the crowd to break the law and get more.
Absolutely. There's a lot of them. 240, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
Somebody on here saying that this is all faked and staged. I wish it were, but sweetheart, no. Don't fall into that rabbit hole. No. One of the reasons I did not buy into COVID, I very quickly fell away from it, is because it is really hard to keep up a pretense and have all the pieces in place.
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk really was assassinated on camera. Donald Trump looked at a video like this, and they actually have someone won a Pulitzer Prize for the photograph showing the bullet where he tilted his head and it went past his ear. The details, they can't keep up the details. So it'd be nice to think, oh, this is just made up. No, it's real. These people are really this hostile. They're really this violent. And here's something else we need to talk about. Again, I have told all my audience members, and thanks to all the new people, welcome, welcome. Layered knowledge, expertise is layered knowledge. I have done episodes that you really need to see. Some of them, they're all valuable, I think. But these 3 episodes where I talk about the left, calling them the woke, which is a label they initially applied to themselves, and some still do, but some have told me, oh, that's insulting now. I can't keep up with what you find insulting. And woke is a lot fewer letters than writing left progressive, and I'm doing it on social media. These 3 episodes 30 through 33 and even 34, actually discuss how left ideology is especially encouraging and triggering to people with mental health issues.
Absolutely.
And they know that. So when they're using language that they know will trigger, no, it's not staged, Nettie, that will trigger their people, it is not staged. And before the show, you mentioned something about the mental health aspect of this, Melinda. You said something about Tylenol.
Oh, my goodness me. I was just remembering, Dina, when we were chatting, that women were shaving their heads after Donald Trump. And you and I had a little chat about that on an episode, and I think you put up a couple of photos. Well, of course, now they're taking Tylenol, like powdering Tylenol in. And now I saw a video the other day of a pregnant woman, and she was heavily pregnant. So she would have been at least 36 or 37 weeks easily. And she started popping Tylenol because Donald Trump said that, look, we're not, maybe just lay off the Tylenol while you're pregnant, because of course he actually cares. He's been given some information, and if we don't know, we don't know. So let's err on the side of caution, because we're really trying to get to the bottom of all of this autism. And because autism has just absolutely skyrocketed in the last 20 years, as everybody knows. So, of course, a pregnant woman's on the video because she hates Trump, not because she wants to protect her child or prove a point. She's just doing it to hate Trump. And then another guy gets on another video, and he is literally shoving Tylenol in his mouth and making a video while he's doing it and telling Trump off. And I just think, guys, this is this mental illness that we're referring back to.
Yes, but there were two things that I would also mention. Number one, the people who produced Tylenol had actually put something out in 2017 saying we do not recommend taking any of our products while pregnant.
That
Okay,
will
so
all.
it wasn't Donald Trump.
That's right. All pharmaceutical companies, apart from COVID, of course, where they told pregnant women they should be putting it in their bodies, which was criminal. But most pharmaceutical companies really do have that little disclaimer on all prescription drugs and all, if you're pregnant, see your doctor. Don't take it if you're pregnant. Even naturopaths, even when you go to see health supplements,
But there's another point too, that there is a young woman who was pregnant and was doing the whole defy Donald Trump on TikTok thing, taking lots of Tylenol. And one of the things, and that man that took the Tylenol is also risking this. Even before her child could be born, she actually passed away from the liver damage caused by the Tylenol overdose. So when you're dealing with mentally ill people, I have to say that the people in my family that are most critical of what I do are the ones with the personality disorders. So it's not surprising. Why do I believe the false story about Tylenol? Because the people who produce it actually put a warning on it saying don't take it. And because everything is, I can tell you this, one of the things I've learned, I'm not saying I'm infallible, nobody is, but I can tell you as a social psychologist, one of the things I've been trained to do is see the strings of manipulation and be able, it's like I have X-ray vision. It's like I'm able to see another color. And one of the things I do with both my Unmasking the Abuser podcast series and with all of my work is I train you how to see that color too, or those colors, I should say. It's more than one color. That's what I do. I give you that superpower. It's transferable, but you have to pay attention. If something is fake, there will be holes. The fact that they were calling COVID so dangerous, yet they allowed you to use a mask that even on the side of the box said does not protect against viruses like COVID-19. We didn't have hazmat disposal units for used masks. They didn't require people to wear gloves. They told you couldn't go into this shop, but when you went grocery shopping, the person doing your groceries touched every item on that you were purchasing. There were just so many holes, and there usually
the thing is, you can see the holes. You've got to put the logic test on.
And I can also tell when something's real. I can tell when something's real. Charlie Kirk was really murdered. Donald Trump was really shot. And if you look it up, so Nettie, look this up. Look up the fact that he did over 90 rallies, and CNN only went to one rally, and that's the one in Butler, Pennsylvania, where the attempted assassination took place, and the photographers had high-speed cameras able to actually photograph and see the bullet as it passed. That's the conspiracy you should latch onto, because often if you just say everything's fake, that tells me that you will find a way to turn away from inconvenient truths. As somebody on the right, I have lost, and I've mentioned this to you, I have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in contracts because I'm not left-wing. And some of the people have actually admitted to me and said, basically, what are you going to do about it? So please know this. This stuff that I talk about on this show is not fake. Charlie is truly dead. Trump missed it by millimeters. That's for you, Melinda. Millimeters of being assassinated. Luckily, it only got his ear. Here's the rule of thumb. The more mainstream media you consume, the more indoctrinated you are. But also, please look at those episodes, because a lot of you are taking the time to try to convince people with personality disorders to turn away from the left. And as long as they know how to trigger these people and capture these people and indoctrinate these people, It's really tough. We have to focus our energy on people with a normal psychology who, whether you believe Charlie was Christian or not, has nothing to do with the fact that he's really dead. And they saw him as a threat, not because of his faith, as much as the fact that he was using verifiable science to dispute them. The more you cannot convince somebody who's indoctrinated with facts. Charlie's crowd grew because he was convincing the people without mental health issues and without personality disorders who had just been influenced by mainstream media. He was bringing receipts and facts and disputing, and these people saw how poorly the left was able to argue their side. Those are the people we have to start with. Don't hand me that both sides do wrong things. Sometimes you'll come across this too. I know all of you have gone through this. No. The difference, like Melinda was mentioning, about 3% of people on the right think violence is okay if somebody has different beliefs, where it's more than 30% of the left. And I want to show you this too. I should mention this, and because if you haven't watched the show or not, if you don't understand what a social psychologist does and how powerful our science is, you will not realize the tactics of psychological manipulation are extremely potent. That's why they're used. And the left is relentless in using those. The people on the right basically say, this is what we believe, come on board or don't. Now, there's a man named Matthias Desmet who studies a lot of, especially about group psychology, group influence, something called mass formation, like what they did with COVID, where you actually brainwash a large portion of the population. Matthias Desmet, I think he's from Belgium, but he prints and talks in English. If you want to know more, he does brilliant work. But no, it's not an either side thing. And I have told people, this is like saying when you come across a very violently abusive relationship where you have one partner who is just homicidal, violent, angry, aggressive, and they say, well, both people in a couple make mistakes. Yeah, we make mistakes, but not like them. This is a concentrated, concerted effort to destroy Western society. We have to decide whether we want to let them. And they promote, and anybody that does something extreme, look how much attention Kathy Griffin got. No, everybody ignored her because she wasn't that funny. She actually goes on social media with a decapitated head that looks like Trump. It's like a puppet. Looks like a decapitated head.
Well,
looks like,
disgusting.
And all of a sudden she was everywhere. So the more extreme you go, the more attention you get because they want to promote that. So you have somebody like Ashley Shackelford. I don't know what profession would promote, unless you're talking about fat strippers are us. Why would you go and give a seminar, a professional seminar dressed like that? And then she has this whiteboard saying all white people are racist. And it's so funny because her voice is in complete contrast to how she looks. She has this soft, reasonable voice, and she talks about how all whites are demons, and oh my God. And then you have this little boy, Desmond is amazing, who was turned into a drag queen when he was like 4 years old. And his parents or foster parents or whomever is behind him has him doing stripper dances at gay men's clubs, and they're cheering and throwing money at him. They're using children as well as adults, and they have really worked hard to capture white women. It's tragic, it's scary. And it didn't start now. Ask yourself, when you started seeing all of these silence is violence signs from Black Lives Matter protests in 2019 and 2020, did a part of you look and go, that bugs me and I don't know why? It's because if you are saying that silence is violence, then any type of aggression is self-defense. It becomes morally justifiable. And look at this. Left-wing terrorism climbs to a 30-year high. And let me show you a little video that tells you how popular this type of attitude is among the left.
You can just kill ICE agents. You know that? You can just kill them. You don't have to hold your phone in their face and ask people when their birthday is and ask people what their name is and then try to find wherever they end up in Los Angeles. You can kill them. This isn't about social media clout anymore. This isn't about video. This isn't about the phone. This is about get a gun and start killing ICE agents. They are deputized.
It's incredible, actually. It's actually incredible that these people fundamentally believe what they're talking about and think that's trendy cool now, that they're so...
Well, you look at when we were talking about mental health. This is a woman...
Was that a woman? That was a guy.
No, that was a woman who's obviously taking testosterone and is showing off the fact that she's had a double mastectomy.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, of course. Okay, yeah.
We're talking about somebody with serious mental health issues, but again, we have to take responsibility for this. Why do they feel free to be so open about their incredible violence that they're advocating? Why are they so free with that? Because not enough of them have been going to jail.
Well, that's right, because society has been way too tolerant of this. And as you said a while ago, the tolerance is so bad. The word tolerance and then the whole way that we've used it has enabled and even celebrated and given these people some sort of carte blanche to go out there and display their mental illness for everyone to see and start inciting violence.
Well, we need to stop giving mental illness a free pass.
Yeah.
We need to stop giving anybody a free pass. We have to tell them, if you're going to be out and about, make asylums great again. If you're going to be out and about in society, then the rule is you are therefore accountable for your behavior. Yeah. And please know, as somebody, again, who studies this, the left-wing leadership, and I won't just say Democrats. I'm saying Democrats because most of my audience is American, but understand something. Because I work across the world, I'm very aware of the fact that this problem and the same tactics are being used across the Western world. And they know the power of creating an impending threat. They know how to structure their ideology and their promotion and put their funds where it will be the most appealing to not only to people with mental health issues, but people with mental health issues who will get aggressive and violent if they're pointed. The left really has flying monkeys. If you ever watched Wizard of Oz, at one point, the Wicked Witch decides to attack Dorothy, Toto, and the Lion and King, and the Lion King, the Lion and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow. So she decides to attack them, but she doesn't do it herself. She sends out her flying monkeys. And if you study my Unmasking the Abuser program, I actually take that tactic and show how it's used. When you get involved with an abuser, they will find ways to turn people in your social circle. They use them as flying monkeys so that they come after you and the abuser doesn't have to do it directly. So what we're seeing is the Democrat leaders are well aware of the fact that they are creating an impending threat by using the terminology that they're using, by actively, here we have someone who's the senior member of Congress telling people to get out in the streets and riot. When and where has that ever been okay?
And they just
They
really feel
know.
like they have some sort of moral high ground so that they can do it. We would never be able to do that, but they're the good ones and they've got the moral high ground. So they're entitled to do whatever they want to do without any consequences. And those days are coming to an end. And thank goodness for that.
Well, you know what? If they think Trump is tough, wait till JD gets in.
Yes.
JD is going to kick butt and take names, and we need to do it now. We cannot afford to have 3.5 more years of aggression, violence, brainwashing of our young people, brainwashing, the takeover of community services. Any area, any field that has a large number of white women in it has been taken over by the woke for more than 20 years. So it's why in domestic violence, my main field, not my only by any stretch of the imagination, but my main field, we have, I don't know if you've noticed this, but 25%, in general number is 25% across the Western world of women will experience domestic abuse at least once in their lives. And that statistic has not improved since the mid 1980s when Wham had the #1 hit. Okay? It has not improved. Why is it? Because the people that go into that field, into community services and whatever, tend to be woke. So they base everything on, does it fit the narrative?
Yeah.
Does it give me virtue signaling points? Not, does it work? Is it effective? My program is so much more effective than theirs simply because I use facts and evidence in developing a strategy that anybody can use. I mean, the youngest people I'm able to train is 13 years old. Why didn't it? In fact, when I came up with it, I was like, oh, come on, somebody must have thought of this before. But no. And for the most part, I have to leapfrog over the domestic violence services and go to powerful people in government to get work, because the people in domestic violence services don't want to hire me because I'm not woke, regardless of the fact that my programs work. Me not being left progressive is enough reason to reject me and to keep all of these people in danger, some of whom will lose their lives, rather than hire someone. And if you're watching the Tylenol fiasco, none of this surprises you. But again, the left knows if they present anybody that doesn't follow the entire left narrative as some sort of Nazi fascist destroyer of worlds, they're going to trigger fear instincts. And keep in mind, people with mental health issues have an overactive fear response. So it's going to encourage them, trigger them to act out. And the people in the leadership know this. They do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And I would apologize for this picture, but I think it's funny. Somebody took Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and turned her into a Muppet. She is a Muppet. Stuff comes out of her mouth. First of all, the fake ghetto accent. She was brought up speaking standard English. She has a professional family, went to an elite school.
God.
That's not natural. It's so fake. And it's insulting to lower class people who don't know any better. But Democrat leaders, they whip people up into a frenzy and then they always deny responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
Now, telling people, this is recent. She just said this last week. Everything the president does is against the law.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, it's just incredible that it's always incredible to me that these people feel totally entitled to say whatever they want because they think that whoever they are, they think they're so above right and wrong. They're so above it all.
Well, look at this. This is the governor of California, my home state and previous state, and there's a reason why, okay?
Yeah.
Look what he just posted. Stephen Miller is an incredibly outspoken and super effective White House deputy chief of staff. He's all over the place. He is amazing. I expect to see him in a much higher position. But he is effective because he uses, again, facts and credible evidence. Gavin doesn't like him. So Gavin posts that he's a fascist. And this just happened over the weekend after we saw that calling people these names spurs the mentally ill portion of the left, which is the majority of them in some measure, to act out violently. He's trying to get him killed.
And the thing is, it's so irresponsible. It's also not true. And this throwing around Nazi fascist Hitler, they just go round and round and round, and they are throwing that stuff out.
They never know the definition of I know, but they never know the definition of fascism.
No, they don't.
And they're not smart enough to recognize that if you're talking about somebody who removes all rights and turns your life into an absolute hellhole, Stalin was exponentially worse than Hitler.
Yeah.
Hitler at least liked his own people. Stalin was a paranoid, schizophrenic psychopath who was responsible not only for significantly more murders. I mean, we're talking millions more than the Germans. Yes. He was responsible for millions more Jews dying than Hitler.
Yes.
The difference is the Jews in Hollywood made a lot of movies about Hitler, and nobody really talks that much about Stalin. Look up what he was like. He was absolutely horrendous. But they don't, these people keep talking about fascism. They don't even know the definition. That's one thing that Charlie kept doing. He kept saying, okay, what is a fascist? What is
Yes, that's right. I say that to people all the time. Like if you're going to use that word, you need to really understand the definitions. And I actually came out the other day and put a whole bunch of words down and say to people, you really do need to understand the nuances of language and the differences in these words. Maybe go get an Oxford dictionary and have a quick look, because not everything is grouped into these really big bubbles of meaning. There are nuances, and language is very, very, very important. I mean, language is being weaponized, and it's being weaponized, whipping up all of these mentally ill people into a frenzy, as you say. And the language is being used completely incorrectly. That's the second layer of the
bubble. They do it on purpose, because this is what I mean. Also, when people say, well, during COVID, people just did the best they could. No, when you are doing something with good intentions, if you start seeing bad results, you immediately stop. You look at how when vaccines in the past, as soon as they started having mortality associated with that vaccine, they pulled it from the market. The fact that they continued and even got even more vehement about forcing people to take it, no. Now, also, too, there's a problem. When you're talking about people with issues, and remember something, personality disorders, people are fully functional. A lot of them, I know that people in my family with them are extremely academically bright. They're just off. So there's their way of processing the world and information. Their way of processing dissension is not rational. One of the things associated, and as I said, look at the episodes. One of the things associated with personality disorders is emotional dysregulation, which means if they get upset, they get triggered easily. And when they get triggered, they can't calm themselves down. They get more and more upset and they start to act out. And this is the problem with people like this. Monkey see, monkey do. Look at what happened when Elon had to pretend not to be friends with Trump anymore.
I know. That's right, because
my favorite guy. I've shown this photo.
You did it again.
I had to see it now. Oh, yes, I know. I'm giving you all nightmares. Sorry about that. It starts with open hostility. But remember, somebody that's going to start yelling and screaming at you will potentially hit you. And if they'll potentially hit you, you're at risk of them going further.
I got to say, though, his butt crack just looks a little high there. It just looks like the photo's odd.
No, he has on really those pants. He's like with what's his name? Jaden. Smith.
Oh, right. Yeah. So he's, it just looks really
Those
interesting because
low-cut
his stomach is
pants.
below his crack. So
Who told him this is a good look? Okay, but he's putting a swastika on a Tesla because people said that Elon is a Nazi and a fascist. And this is also from last week with the guys who went to a traditionally Black university, college and universities, Tennessee State. And he says here, they stole our belongings, chased us to our car, attacked it, shouted Black Power, and blocked us from leaving campus. These guys were actually at risk. Wow. These people, showing themselves, giving the finger, all because they went and said DEI is not good. They had a few people, I must admit, I've always see what happens before and after. Beforehand, there were some people that actually approached them to argue their point, to fight for their side. But it quickly attracted people who should never have been in a university in the first place.
Yes.
They were stupid, irrational, no self-control, without self-discipline. That's why the Tennessee State has such a low graduation rate. It's like less than 25% graduation rate. And that's why, because they let anybody in.
Yeah.
But until we actually do something to teach people how important integrity and discipline are, you getting a new opportunity isn't going to help you because you're not going to be able to utilize it. You're going to muck it up. You're going to sabotage it. And here we have pro-life Savannah. I don't know if you've seen her on Instagram. I follow her on social media. Savannah Craven Antio is a pro-life woman who goes and talks to people and says, have you considered this perspective with regard to abortion? This woman, like many, and I've actually had this happen to me in my own family. When they can't argue the point, they'll smack you. And she got punched to the point she had to get stitches. She had the woman arrested, and then the DA in New York just let it slide until the case had to be dropped. So no legal defense. Now, here's something from Charlie. In April 2025, 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% say it's justified to murder Donald Trump.
I mean, it's just disgusting. There's just no other word for it.
We have to fight against this, and we have to be relentless and ruthless. I am a total Judge Judy. I get very upset. I've worked in DVs and worked with homeless families and things for more than 25 years, since grad school. And I will be so upset. But if I see a pattern of behavior that if we give someone what they ask for, it's going to make things worse, I'm not going to give it to them. My whole dissertation was on the non-financial cost of being on welfare for an extended period of time. It actually causes social isolation and despair and unhappiness and conflict, and nobody wins. Okay? So I'm willing to look at the facts, even when it's my own group, even when it's women mucking up, even when it's Americans mucking up, even when it's Black people mucking. I am willing to look because we can't fix anything we want to actually look at. Leftists were criminals. When they commit crimes, they actually receive a lot of positive attention from their side because, after all, they're doing what the leadership wants them to. And they even get financial support. Carmelo Anthony's family spent the money that was given to him for his legal defense. They bought a new car, got a new house.
Now, why doesn't that surprise me?
No. And here's something else that you may have missed. The Minnesota state senator in June was murdered with her husband. Okay. And two other members of the family were shot. Over less than a week ago, so over the last weekend, we had the Sky Meadow Country Club in Nashville, New Hampshire. The guy who shot them shouting "Free Palestine." Probably can't find Palestine on a map, but anyway. And we had the Mormon Church in Michigan on Sunday.
Yes.
And it says here that he has been. So if it's both sides are wrong, where are the Trump supporters that are doing these things? And in fact, the reason Trump got mad at Jimmy Kimmel is because he went and told his not as large as he'd like audience that it was Trump supporter who had murdered.
That's right. He did say that. And then he came out later and tried to say he didn't say it, but he did. And also what's going on with these Emma Watsons and Jimmy Kimmels and Piers Morgans and all these people that have come out in the last few years, realizing that whether they were banging on about COVID or trans or climate change or what other big global topic that they want to grab a hold of and virtue signal, they're suddenly realizing now that there's going to be a greater and greater and greater pushback, and that suddenly now the silent majority aren't going to be so silent anymore and start to really.
You see here, we talk about this, an external locus of control. That's something I talk about with abusers as well. They will take credit for anything positive, even if they didn't have much to do with it, but they will not. Right. They will always deflect the blame for anything they do wrong. It's always someone or something else's fault. So
or they just lie and deny that they did it. They just say, I didn't do it. I didn't say that.
But if they get caught, then it's still not their fault. It's because they grew up in foster care or because they were called a bad name. And in addition, you see with the left that they are just such blatant hypocrites. Yes. So while this sign says, I feel much safer with refugees than fascists, and they're implying or stating outright that Republicans, Trump supporters, right-wing people are all fascists. These same people, when those illegals got shipped to Martha's Vineyard, that super elite place in, I think it's in Massachusetts, they called the National Guard and got those people removed within 24 hours.
That's right. They didn't want them there.
And they're telling us we need to have a court that is completely blocked, taking each and every illegal to court with due process. They gave no due process to the people protesting the election on January 6, 2020. They gave no due process to these illegals that I think wasn't it Texas that sent them and said, we don't want them, you guys take them.
Florida. I'm pretty sure it was Florida.
Well, I have to tell you right now, we're getting to the end. Here's what we have to do. We could have so many shows just on what they've been up to. You all know it. You see the news every day. Another thing, please, if anybody knows Elon Musk, Melinda and I were talking about this. We need to do something to get more people across the Western world to be on X. Often when I do this show, people who watch the show from Facebook or Daily Cloud or somewhere else say, well, I'm not on X. We need everyone to get on X because it's the only way you're going to get the real news. And if we're going to actively gather together and fight against the left, we need to have a platform that allows us to do it, and X is it. Now, we have to I want you to think differently because I'm not just talking because I don't believe in that. Melinda will tell you, I am actively in the process of getting further into the fight, further into the fray. I am moving myself in harm's way. We all have to do it because we have to shield ourselves and our families from this. It's not just a different way of living and a different way of thinking. It is actually wrong. It is actually evil. And we have to protect ourselves and our families. We also need to protect our society from this left progressive ideology and coercion. And again, it's why they wanted to kill Charlie Kirk, because he had evidence in his hands that he would show them, no, you're wrong. Look it up. Use your own phone. Look up the studies and see what the statistics are. Look up the definition on Wikipedia. You've got that wrong. They do not want people to tell them how they've been manipulated and indoctrinated with fake information. So they want to hurt us. So we have to fight hard, and we have to get an army that's too big for them to just pick us off. So let's talk a little bit about how to do it, because we're basically out of time, but let's talk about how to do it. Here, screenshot this or watch the recording if you want to get the quote from J.K. Rowling when she talked about her betrayal by Emma Watson. And like it or not, you, whomever you are, you need to participate. Get as much knowledge as you can on key topics. And I've told you before, if you have a smartphone, find a good study, go on AI, go on ChatGPT, go on Grok. Grok tends to be less left-wing than ChatGPT. Find the studies and just list them. Copy and paste them onto notes so that if somebody asks you, you can say, well, you know what? There's a study here. I can email this to you if you want to look. Now, most of the time they won't look, but you'll have the information. Take steps to build a social circle of like-minded people. I have to do this because my entire family is left. They have rejected me. They started rejecting me more than a decade ago. Back in 2010, I started getting rejected because that's when the woke really started gaining momentum. And I was like, yeah, that goes against human nature. That goes against studies. That's not going to work. It's going to cause the absolute opposite effect. It's going to cause backlash. They didn't want to know that. So they got mad at me. And then when Trump won in 2024, I have been totally blacklisted. So right now I have nowhere to go for Thanksgiving. That's sad. So what do I have to do? I'm going to take steps to build a social circle of like-minded people. That's why Melinda's part of my life. I have other people. Do not allow yourself to be isolated, because you'll be tempted on a primal level to start tolerating things you know are wrong, because your brain will tell you you're too at risk if you don't have any friends and you don't have anywhere to go. And find a like-minded social circle of people. Become active in your community. Another thing, as I said, you're going to see me more out and about, because I am determined to become far more active in the world. One of the reasons being because of my race, because the Democrats have been way too successful at convincing Black people that to use your brain is conservative and racist, that to use your Christian values and apply them to your life is somehow wrong. We've got to get more of us Black conservatives out in the world willing to go up against these people and say no. We have to start voting against people who won't act on what they say. They're all so full of this, that, and the other, but every congressperson, every senator who stands against what Trump is trying to implement needs to be replaced. I would be a good replacement for any of them. Not only because I have extensive credentials, world experience. My ex is a politician, so I know how politics works from the inside. And believe me, it's a different world. It's not just about being smart, but I know how it works from the inside. So you got contacts, contact me. Don't just say, oh, she would be good to contact me. We need to demand harsh punishment for crime. And yes, I purposely put a Black guy there. The crime in the Black community is unacceptable. And Black folks broke it. Black folks need to fix it. Okay. Harsh punishment, no excuses. I don't care if you grew up or life is tough everywhere. Harsh punishment, but at the same time, it can't just be negative. Operant conditioning also requires reward. So we have to have more programs that provide rewards for hard work, study, merit. If you are Black and influential, let's start talking about how to get our culture to respect education, to respect achievement, to say, like me, when I applied for Stanford, I don't need DEI Take me off my accomplishments or don't take me at all. We have never, my Tuskegee Airman great uncle Harris was not relying on DEI to become a top fighter pilot. We have never had to use that. Let's be too proud. But we're competing against people who have systems in place. We can do it. We've never been frightened of competition before. And remind yourself, you know, Dr. Naomi Wolf keeps saying this, and she's right. This is a war. And we're all soldiers. I don't care who you are, where you are, what you're doing. We're all soldiers. So any questions or comments, just leave them anywhere you're watching this. If you want to hire me, I do training that is so exceptional. Everybody will think, oh, you're a genius for hiring me. So just screenshot, come back and look at the recording. Ethical Strategic Solutions is the name of my company. Really easy to find, work with all budgets. And early next year, I'm going to start online classes. Ooh, all your favorite topics. So I need to know what your favorite topics are. And we'll have big classes that are super inexpensive, that are really wide open. And we'll have slightly more expensive ones that are smaller and intimate. So everybody gets personal attention from me. So there we are. And Melinda, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me again. It's always so enlightening, and it's so fantastic that we're talking about this. It's very, very good.
I also have to say something from Nettie, who said that a lot of this is fake. It really isn't, Nettie. But look what she says. She says Nettie's in Japan. So hello. She says she carries a bag that says vaccines are poison in English and Japanese. And she said she's the only one out there protesting. Going against the crowd in Japan takes real courage. So well done. And I'm so glad you're part of our little team. We're going to we're going to build a whole team where I'm going to come out and talk to you guys. And we're going to be a whole team of people and going back and forth to Australia, to the UK. For me, Australia is 2 movies and a nap. UK is the same. My only reason for hesitating when I said UK is because I'm just concerned about getting arrested, because they are arresting people for social media posts in the UK.
You would get arrested. I would get arrested as well. It's just as simple as that. There's a 2-tier system going over there, and that's why they've had to really rally now, because it's really getting to the dark end of the spectrum now for them. They've really got no choice.
But for America and for Australia, England is the motherland, and we cannot let them be conquered by these hostile foreigners. And even though the way they did it, for all of you listening, because I know we have to finish up, but the way they did it, and they did it in Australia as well, is convince everyone that having Christian faith is a weakness, is short-sightedness, that religion is something for weak people to do. Actually, no, faith makes you strong. Faith gives you courage. Faith gives you wings. So I will see you next week. Any questions, comments, please contact me. I'm always on X. That's my second home. If you know Elon or somebody who knows Elon, Melinda and I want a show where we talk about all these issues on X. And we also want to do everything we can to increase X membership across the English-speaking world, because we can use it as a platform for rebellion, for resistance, for taking our countries back. I'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you.
Bye.